patreon.com/DDUNCHAINED. Doesn't have to be huge. Any side's contributions are greatly appreciated. Those who contribute $40 or more will get the Unchained package. Trust me, it's worth it. Contribute $65 or more and get the Romeo Delight package, which is Unchained plus more. And $95 scores you the Top Jimmy package, which is the kitchen sink. If you're a Van Halen hardcore and listen to this cast, this is stuff you'll appreciate. It's ear candy. Go to patreon.com/DDUnchained. Email your contact information to ddunchainedpodcast@gmail.com. What is understood need not be discussed.
Martin Popoff here. Hope you're enjoying this latest episode of Dave and Dave Unchained, the Wise Swamis on all things VH. Just wanted to remind you that at martinpopoff.com, I've got 2 Van Halen books that I wrote. One is Van Halen, a visual biography, which is basically a big hardcover coffee table book, 400 images, 20,000 word detailed timeline. And the other one is called Unchained, a Van Halen user manual. It's the sort of 120,000 word, very academic, a lot of crazy chapters, a lot of trivia, wordy book that I did on Van Halen. So yes, go to martinpopoff.com. I sign and ship those out of my office here in Toronto. There's PayPal buttons for the US, international, and Canada. Again, Van Halen, a visual biography, and Unchained, a Van Halen user manual. Back to Dave and Dave.
Hi, this is Chris Gill, co-author of Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen, and you're listening to the phenomenal Dave and Dave Unchained show.
If you would like to send us a letter asking a question or making a statement or whatever you'd like to say, you can send it to ddunchainedpodcast@gmail.com.
Pick up the new book, Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen, by Brad Tolinski and Chris Gill. These music journalists share with fans new and old alike a candid, compulsively readable, and definitive oral history of the most influential rock guitarist since Jimi Hendrix. It is based on more than 50 hours of unreleased interviews they recorded with Eddie Van Halen over the years, most of them conducted at the legendary 5150 Studios at Ed's home in Los Angeles. The heart of Eruption is drawn from these intimate and wide-ranging talks, as well as conversations with family, friends, and colleagues. In addition to discussing his greatest triumphs as a groundbreaking musician, including an unprecedented dive into Van Halen's masterpiece 1984, the book also takes an unflinching look at Edward's early struggles as a young Dutch immigrant unable to speak the English language, which resulted in lifelong issues with social anxiety and substance abuse. Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen, also examines his brilliance as an investor who changed the face of guitar manufacturing. Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen. Get your copy today on Amazon.com.
It hurts me to do that to generally good men.
I'm sure the pain will subside as the Côte d'Azur comes into view.
That it will. So, as the venerable David Lee Roth once said, might as well jump.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 incredible guests this evening. You know Mitch Malloy. He's a former podcast guest that has been on several times, almost lead singer of Van Halen. Of course, he has his own career, not only as a solo artist, but in Great White, amazing singer. And we also have Pete Thorn, who is an incredible guitarist in his own right. Gentlemen, thank you for calling.
Pete Thorn. Thanks so much, guys.
There he is. Awesome. Pete, it's great to talk to you. Mitch, it's great to hear your voice again, as always.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, awesome. So these 2 gentlemen are working on something very special, which is happening on October 9th. They are doing a show called The Van Halen Experience, and we had them on today, so we wanted you could tell us about what is the Van Halen Experience and how did the idea come about?
Okay, well, this is Mitch, and I'll start. So As you guys could probably imagine, over the years, I've had a lot of inquiries into this. You know, the more people that found out about my Van Halen experience would inquire about it and ask me about it and, you know, say how they wonder what I would have sounded like with them, and they would have loved to have seen me live with them. And that, you know, that's been going on now for quite a long time, since people found out about it. I mean, since the book out, where I was included in the book, that really amped things up. You know, this new Rolling Stone, have you seen the feature that recently happened?
Yes, of course. We did a whole piece on it, remember?
Yeah, so, you know, since then, things have really ramped up, and people are asking. So, you know, it just never felt right to me to do this. And then Ed passed away, and I just thought, you know, maybe it's the time now to do this. You know, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. And I want to do it as a celebration show and, you know, really honor Ed's memory. And I had a few guys in mind to come along and do it with me, and sort of like my first call guys. Mm-hmm. And I've been watching Pete for quite a while, unbeknownst to him. I've been kind of, you know, watching him online do his thing. And I was just really astounded by how accurate he does Eddie, how deep his knowledge is of what Eddie did, how he played, what he played through, how he did it, and then to find out that he was really good friends with Ed. And Pete actually played with Chris Cornell, produced Chris Cornell. He's played with Don Henley, Melissa Etheridge. But what I didn't know is that Pete actually produced Ed on Chris Cornell record that never came out.
Really?
So Pete spent a lot of time at 5150 and became really good friends with Ed. So when Pete and I first spoke, we had a connection level that I really kind of never had with anyone else, because I've never spoke to anyone else that's been to 5150 and had those experiences. So we just hit it off like, you know, gangbusters right away. And I'm just thrilled that he said yes to do this. I was kind of shocked, actually, that he did say yes. So let me hand it over to Pete and let him kind of talk to you guys for a while. You get to know him a little bit.
Sure. Pete, it's great to have you. Thank you so much. Pete, tell us about this recording experience you had with Chris Cornell and Ed. Of course, our condolences on Chris's passing. Everybody in the rock community misses him every day. Such an unbelievable, remarkable talent. And of course, obviously, we lost Ed as well, two giants. So in terms of the recording, what year was this? And is the album completely unreleased?
Okay, so thank you, first of all, for having me. And thanks, Mitch, so much for getting me involved in this, because I'm just really excited about it. So I think it's going to be a blast. That's the main thing. It's going to be really fun.
Cool.
So, you know, besides that, it's kind of an interesting story. So it wasn't a whole record. It was a track that we worked on together. And what happened was, as Chris told me, like this is going back probably over 20 years, Chris and Ed had become friends at one point. And they used to kind of get together and hang out. And Chris was really blown away with, of course, Ed's musicianship and sitting there watching him. He used to talk about how he loved to watch him play piano. He's like, it's mind-blowing when he sits there in front of you and plays piano, just what he does. He said, I've always wanted to work with him, but there's just never been like the opportunity where it's kind of been like a thing where it would come together. So Chris asked me to produce a few tracks for him of acoustic kind of stripped down versions of songs from his Scream album. If anybody remembers that album was kind of, it was a shocker to a lot of people because it was largely, you know, it was like a different kind of record for Chris.
Yeah,
you know,
very electronic,
like
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and a lot of production and stuff. So he thought, what if I just go the other way with a couple of these tracks and just strip it way down and make them really raw? And so I said, sure. So I got to work on that, put together a couple friends of mine, and worked up like really cool, vibey, really earthy versions of the songs. One of them was Long Gone and the other one was the song Scream from that album. So I had bass, drums, and myself on guitars playing like mostly like, you know, acoustic, like 12-string kind of vibey guitars. One day after a rehearsal, we were getting ready to go on the road, and this would be 2009 when this was. We were getting ready to go out and do some playing, and I said, I've got these tracks that I've worked up for you. Want to hear them? And we got in my car and we listened to them. And he was like, this is cool, man. He was like, these are sounding really good. I like these. And he was like, what do you think about if we asked Eddie Van Halen to play on these? And I was like, now, you know, come on. I mean, I'm like a big Van Halen fan.
Sure.
Just, you know, a big nerd going way back to, you know, when I first started playing guitar in the early 80s. So
right.
I was like, are you kidding? Like, you don't have to ask me twice. And I knew they'd hung a lot and been pals and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, he's always expressed interest in working with me. And and I of course would love to do something with him. And this just seems like a great opportunity. And in particular, he mentioned the fact that he loves his piano playing, beyond his guitar playing, which is obviously amazing. But he's like, I'd love to see if he would play piano on this, like maybe do something that nobody would expect. Since he'd done sessions with folks like, obviously the Michael Jackson, connection, and he'd come and blasted guitar solos,
Sure.
But I said, absolutely, let's make it happen, Well, Chris was an artist, and artists have a lot of ideas, and sometimes things come to fruition, sometimes they don't, and they think about it, then they'll move on to other things, so I didn't want to bother him about it, but a couple weeks went by, and occasionally I think I would, send him an email or something like, hey, did you talk to Ed? Because we got those tracks and we're working them up. And I either wouldn't hear back or I can't remember, but nothing was happening on that front. Well, a good friend of mine had worked on Eddie's guitar rigs and amplifiers and stuff like that. And at one point he said, I got to go up to 5150 today to do some work. And I would have to be in the shop. I said, dude, can you do me the biggest favor? I said, and can you mention to him that Chris Cornell is interested in possibly working on these tracks with him? And he said, okay, sure. And about an hour later, I had a text on my phone that said, Ed wants you to call him. Here's his number. There it was. That was the bat phone, right? I was like, wow. I was just like, so I had to kind of like compose myself, and dial the number. Mitch knows, but sometimes he would have crazy answering messages on his phone and stuff like that. So I think I got one of the crazy ones like that, and I got his voicemail, and I left him a message, and I said, it's Pete Thorn. I play guitar with Chris Cornell, and he's really interested in having you work on these. If you'd be at all interested in checking him out. And I said, I live local, and I could, come and see you. So left that message in here from him. The next day, and without a word of a lie, this is the truth, I was on the throne. I was in the bathroom, and I heard my phone ringing in the other room, and I didn't get it. And when I've done my business, I went into the other room, and of course I put his number in my phone, and it said missed call, Eddie Van Halen. And I was like, oh, shit. I can't believe I missed this call, Anyway, I called him back and I got him on the phone, and he said, he was such an affable guy and just really sweet. And he said, well, how soon can you come up and play him for me, And I said, man, I live 10 minutes from you. I'm in Studio City. I said, I can swing up and see you. He said, well, my AC's busted right now, and it's hot as hell. It was summertime in LA. He said, it's hot as hell, so let me get my conditioning worked out, and, in a couple of days you can swing up. So we made a time, got it sorted out, and I drove up there. I couldn't believe it. I was going up to the, this kind of magical place that if you're into Van Halen, 5150 in the house. So I went up, and he was just so sweet, So first thing I pulled up the drive, and I always remember he answered the gate himself, and he said, okay, drive on up. Don't scratch your spoiler on the way up, because the driveway's really steep.
Oh, wow.
Going to the house. So I don't have a spoiler. I didn't have a sports car, but I thought that was fun. So I drove up to the house, and he came out.
Everyone does, though.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was cool. So he comes walking out of the garage, and I'm nervous as hell because it's like, there he is. He's one of my heroes, and he comes walking out, and I tell you what, he puts me at ease right away because he looks at me, and the first thing he says, if you ever seen a picture of me, this is going to make you laugh. If you haven't, I'm going to tell you why in a second that he said this. But he points at me, and he looks at my eyes, and he goes, which one do I look at? I got strabismus. So I got a crooked eye, right? Yeah.
Oh, my God. What is he doing?
Wow. Very straightforward.
Right out of the gate. Which one do I look at, right? And then I start laughing like uncontrollably because I'm just like, it's like no filter. In many ways, he had no filter.
Wow.
He was just like what he was thinking was what. It's very honest.
Yep.
And that's what came out. And it was really funny. And I just started laughing. He claps me on the shoulder and maybe realized that was sort of like a maybe slightly strange thing to say to somebody you just met. And I started laughing, and he says, man, I didn't mean nothing by it. I was just trying to get it out of the way. And I go, no, are you kidding? That was amazing. And he gives me a big hug or whatever, And then he goes, okay, I'm hungry. Let's go inside. I got to eat something, and then we'll go up to the studio. So we went inside. I hung out with him while he ate a chicken salad, and we just sort of, guessed around for a while. And then he said, okay, let's go up. And so we went up to 5150, which was just amazing for me. Now, at this point, he doesn't know that I know his history and what a fan I am and stuff, which is really something that was very endearing as well, because a lot of people would think, well, don't you know who I am, But he just sort of assumed, he was like, yeah, I don't know if this guy knows who I am, really. So he gives me a tour around the studio, and he says, yeah, this is where we did all the records since 1984. That's the one with Jump on it, he said. I was like, yeah, I know that. And I'm looking around this place, and Mitch knows because he spent a bunch of time there. You're looking around, there's just walls and walls of tape. That's the thing that really blew me away. All the tapes. And you think, God, how much music is on all those reels up there? It was mind-blowing. Yep. And then we went and we sat down in the studio, and he pulled up the tracks. I brought him a CD. This is going back, that long ago, so we still use CDs back then.
Sure.
Now, what year is that?
2009. It was like we were still on the CDs. So he pops it in the player, and he starts listening, and this is a trip for me, because I'm sitting there in his, I thought I would meet him someday, but I had no idea it would be under the sort of, pretenses that we'd be working together in any way.
Yeah, total professional situation.
It was, and that I was like, this is so strange. And so he starts playing the songs, and it's me coming out because it's me playing guitar. So
right.
5150, but it's my guitar playing. I'm like,